Hey, welcome to the 200th episode. We can't do a silent episode.
oh, sorry.
200th episode!
Woo! Of Porcelain Peak, a straight to scary podcast featuring chop talk, trivia, and deep dive main discussions into the odd and unusual. I am one of your hosts, Stone, and I'm joined by Van T. Rillaquist.
I love that last name. Where's that from? Rillaquist.
Scandinavian. And Anthony. And
the boy.
The boy, yes. This
Speaking
week.
of dolls.
That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah.
For Chop Talk this week, we're going to share some trailer news and maybe a little bit more and some clips from people that sent us some audio for our 200th episode. And then we're going to play trivia. I have no fucking idea who won last time. I do not remember at all.
It's been a while.
Yeah. And then for our main discussion, we're kicking off James Wanuary talking about Dead Silence. So let's go ahead and get things kicked off with that Chop Talk.
Why don't you take an axe and chop it open?
Before we dive into news and all the congratulations, how are you guys? It's been a couple weeks. We took a little break.
It was an unintentional break. I had COVID, which was just a smidge.
Just a touch of the COVID.
It was a really fantastic experience. And by fantastic, I mean it was terrible. So Friday, December 23rd, I started feeling
story, dark and stormy night, huh?
Started feeling a little shitty. I was at work. Towards the end of the day, I was starting to get a little scratchy throat. I was like,
am I sick, or is that just all the dick I've been sucking?
Exactly.
Classic.
So I get home and I immediately take a test, and test came back negative. And the next day, I had planned to go with family to Six Flags on Christmas Eve.
I remember you said that.
Yeah. And so I woke up in the morning. I still wasn't feeling super great. But
And you went anyway.
But the test came back negative. So I ended up going on the trip.
You killed the old Six Flags man.
So we go. I do my best to try to keep my distance from people. And
that's funny because Brittany said that you were going around spitting in people's mouths.
yeah. Enjoy COVID. But I mean, I thought that everything was fine, and we went through the day. I progressively felt worse and worse and worse. So at that point, I started to even further distance myself from as many humans as humanly possible. And then we got home that night. We were supposed to go over to my parents' house because that's kind of like our family tradition is we all stay at their place, and then we do stockings in the morning. My mom makes these crazy stockings. I mean, Santa Claus makes these crazy stockings. And so I was like, well, I'm feeling worse than I did when I left, so I'll take another test. And then almost as soon as I put the fold over together and did the adhesive, that the sample line came back red. And then the other line came back red immediately after. I was like, well, I definitely
positive.
Yeah, I've never seen a test more positive in my entire life. So
Sounds like instead of focusing on those Six Flags, you should have been focusing on the red flags that were telling you that you had COVID-19.
Yeah, don't go out in public. So
Glad you're feeling better now, though.
yes, so I immediately put a quarantine into effect, and I spent the majority of the last 10 days inside of a bedroom, which is totally fun.
Yeah, it's been real shit for me, too.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sick, but you're out and Brittany's out, so I just sat here. I just stared at the wall.
Yeah, everybody
Pretending to record for 2 weeks.
everybody in the house got it, which was not great, but it did make it a little bit easier because we were able to interact with each other, so we weren't all suffering alone.
Suffer together, yeah.
Yeah.
Which made things simpler. It meant that we ordered in groceries and had them delivered, and then we were able to cook meals, and we didn't have to worry about trying to order food and worry about who's cooking for who, and getting each other sick and stuff.
Did you watch any whole seasons of a TV show or binge any series of movies, or were you just not really feeling it?
So I watched a lot of YouTube, and then I've been playing Pokemon Scarlet, and then I've also been I picked Elden Ring back up because I was in the middle of a fight with a particular NPC that was very difficult, and I had apparently just stopped and given up. and then left it
like something
alone
I would do, yeah.
for 7 months. And so I picked it back up and then immediately remembered why I quit. And then I'd play for 15 minutes and I'd get frustrated and I'd stop. And then I'd, pick it back up again. I'd play for 15 minutes and then eventually I beat that guy. And then I was like, all right, I'm back into it. And so I've been playing a few hours a day now, just like jumping in. I played during Saw because I'd seen Saw so many times. I was like, oh, I can have Saw up and play Elden Ring on the other screen. Yeah, it was pretty great.
You have a job to do, dude, and I need you to be dedicated. You don't do other shit when you're working at Peach, dude.
Sometimes, yes.
So you mean you're not like, the amount of research that I obviously put into all of these movies that we watch, I got the board with the strings and connecting the dots and going like, oh,
you killed somebody. Well, you put them in a trap.
maybe this guy is the Jigsaw.
But yeah, other than that, I'm on the up and up. I was hoping that I was never going to get it, but I'm glad that it was relatively minor when I did.
Days before, you were in my kitchen bragging about how you've never gotten it. And at that time, you probably hadn't.
So, this is not bragging, because I'm not trying to jinx myself.
Yeah, because
but that's why I don't brag about the fact that I haven't gotten it, is because I'm just waiting for it to come and bite me in the ass, and for me to have like the worst case of COVID out of anyone I know. So
you've had it in your house, you've had it in your podcast studio.
Yeah.
The time I was most contagious was when we last recorded.
Luckily, I learned how to dodge a wrench, so I can dodge a COVID.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess in comparison to you, have been doing pretty well outside of the fact that my fucking roof blew off of my apartment. So yeah, I was so excited about us getting together Friday, and then my last 2 days have just been like so stressful. So it actually makes this more. I was more excited today. I was like, cool, at least I can cap off the week with this. But yeah, other than that, it's just been, the lost and wandering in a black void going, friends? Are you out there, friends? After just a few days of us not hanging out, it's just like, what do I do with my life?
What do I do with my hands?
Talking about the podcast like it's a thing I used to do back in the old days. I used to have a horror sci-fi podcast. But yeah, happy to be back. We got some news to talk about. We got some other shit. But how are you doing?
Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah, happy New Year
too. Since we're a little bit late on that, I'm good. My dog's birthday was same day as your dad. Different years.
Yeah, way to just be a copycat, a copy dog.
Yeah, I was like, you better not be bored, dude. And that's kind of it. I've been kind of bored because everybody's been sick or staying away. So I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, I've also been watching a lot of YouTube, learning some interesting facts about how the canning of food led to the invention of napalm. But I'm not going to go into it because we got a lot of other shit to talk about.
Yes, we do have a bunch of news and a bunch of little audio clips. So probably you want to go back and forth, or
yeah. So I can just start with a couple small bits of news. I'll just do two because they thematically tie together, and then we'll play the first audio clip.
Yeah.
So yeah, since it is James Wanuary for us, and we're talking about we talked about Saw in our Creep Cult bonus episode. We're talking about Dead Silence here. First bit of news is if you are interested in physical media still, which you should be if you want to hope to see a movie in 10 years when we're looking at you the rights to everything and then they put them in the Disney vault forever.
Looking at you, Abyss.
Yeah. James Wan's Dead Silence, as of today, has been upgraded to 4K Ultra HD and is coming to Scream Factory for release. So if you are a fan of James Wan, if you're a fan of Dead Silence, if you're a fan of 4K, check it out.
I can check off 2 of the 3.
Yeah. And because James Wan is doing interviews for Megan, he's
not a character on The Walking Dead.
He said recently that he would love to dive into a remake of Chopping Mall.
Right on.
I was like, that's a weird pick. Wouldn't have pegged James Wan to do a Chopping Mall remake.
I mean, are you saying you wouldn't peg James Wan if he asked you to?
I think
I would watch a remake of Chopping Mall.
I thought that sentence was going in a vastly different place.
If you want to do that, yeah.
I would peg Juan and Winnell. But yeah, that's all I got for our first bit of news. You want to play one of them audio clips?
Yeah, we got one from a disgruntled employee. We'll get that one out the way.
What's up, Peak Freaks? This is Constance calling from the ether. If you've been listening for a while, you might remember me as the voice from the intro for the first few seasons of a certain strange and scary podcast called Porcelain Peak. Well, you may be wondering, whatever happened to poor old Constance? Well, I've been wondering the same goddamn thing. These assholes fired me, just like that. No, thank you, Constance. No explanation. They didn't even acknowledge it. They just replaced me with some nobody from some movie franchise. Whatever.
Shout out to Roger Jackson.
Well, when I heard Porcelain Peak was about to record their 200th episode, I knew I had to say something, to leave a message. Mm-hmm. And I just want to say, justice for Constance. And if I ever see you fuckers again, I swear to God that...
Another happy customer. Yeah, so we're going to get our lawyers on that one.
I don't know if she was fired so much as the service was rendered, right? Like, it was good. We were done.
Yeah, we had just moved on to bigger and better things, and we felt...
It's still in there.
You know, and sometimes I still tell myself, I miss the old Porcelain Peak. But, you know, now we have a cool little jingle that goes, Porcelain Peak. And we don't need a whole intro thing anymore.
We're known to reinvent ourselves.
Yeah.
Like Madonna.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring a cone bra next week, so watch out for that.
That's pretty sick.
Please do. I'm going to be looking forward to that recording.
Oh, my God.
So let's just blow through some trailer news before our next audio message. So did you guys know that Kevin Williamson has a new slasher film coming to Peacock in April?
I did not know that. What?
It is, yeah, that's literally been the reaction from everybody in the horror community is like, what the fuck? How have we not heard about this until just now?
Writing and directing?
I believe he's just writing. Yeah, written by Kevin Williamson. I'm not sure who's directing, but the movie is called Sick. I watched the trailer for it. A little bit weird because it almost feels like it missed the boat because it's very much about COVID. The whole movie is, and you'll relate to this, some friends going to quarantine at a cabin in the woods, basically, and a slasher who kind of looks like he's dressed like a ninja. Not sure what's going on there. Comes and starts slashing people up. And that's what I got from the trailer. And yeah, it's going to Peacock in April. Kevin Williamson. So if you're interested if you don't know, he's the guy who wrote Scream and The Faculty and
The Following Show.
And I Know What You Did Last Summer, right?
There you go. Yeah.
Bigger trailer news, Renfield. You guys check this out?
I've seen I've seen a couple like the little clips. I haven't watched the whole trailer, but I'm interest is peaked, we'll say.
Yeah.
If you don't send it to me, I don't know about them.
Yeah, so I watched the trailer before I came over today. It looks about what I expected, which is ridiculous comedy Dracula. It's definitely it's all about Nicholas Holt's character, which I'm fine with because I love Nicholas Holt, especially after, watching The Menu. I thought he was fucking great in that. Such a piece of shit.
He's a handsome gentleman, though.
Oh, yeah. But ever since...
I like him blue, you know what I'm saying?
Ever since...
Beast.
Oh, yeah, he did. I was like, was he in Avatar?
Get him off just close enough and then stop.
But yeah, like basically the whole like framing device of the trailer is him going into like a support group and he's like, I need help getting out of a toxic relationship, and then he's like explaining it's modern day and he's still helping Nicolas Cage's Dracula, and then also there's a bit where like when he eats bugs or gets blood or whatever, his eyes go all yellow and he gets superpowers, and so he turns into like John Wick. And so there's all this craziness, and then there's a couple scenes with Nick Cage and he looks hilariously hammy and ridiculous and kind of in the style of Bela Lugosi. Also the palette of this, it looks a lot like Rob Zombie's Monsters but done halfway decently, where like everything is really like garish neon colors. So cool style. I'll be interested in checking it out. It looks like a fun romp that probably won't make me too upset if it's not great. But let's do another audio message before we keep going with the trailer news, before we talk about the big trailer.
All right, let's do another one here. Let's get them all ready to go here.
I'm really hoping this one's a little bit less critical of us. A little bit less. Why did you fire me without?
Yeah,
notice
most of them are
severance?
nice. I reached out to some people and I was like, "Can you do like say mean stuff?" And I don't think anyone did. So
I'm gonna be taken down a peg.
Here we go. This one I believe is from Steven
Vayu.
Hello, gents. It's your boy, Steven.
Hi, Steven.
And happy 200th episode. That's great. I've only I got on board relatively recently, I think a couple years ago now. But ever since then, I look forward to every Monday morning because of you guys, which is kind of crazy because, it's Monday. But you guys, you help with the case of the Mondays, because I get to laugh and guess along with you in trivia and, your general shenanigans. I genuinely appreciate the insight that you guys bring. And I've always appreciated your willingness and want to learn more about the various genre of movies that you guys watch, and your desire to expand and broaden your horizons, which is really refreshing, especially in a podcast kind of scenario where people are trying to get as niche as humanly possible. It feels like you guys are really wanting to expand out, and honestly, it's made it's opened me up to watching more stuff, which is great. And cut it off. I'm going to cut this pretty short. So at the risk, sounding kind of sappy or, overly sentimental or whatever, you guys have helped me personally out, a tremendous amount these past couple of years. And I can't wait to see what you guys bring in the new year, and keep it creepy.
Oh, he said the thing.
Well, thank you, Steven. I mean, anytime that guy steps up to bat, he just almost puts me in tears.
Yeah, honestly, that was the first audio message that we got, and it did make me pretty emotional. He had a lot of, you're listening, Steven. You had a lot of really nice things to say, and right back at you in terms of you making my weeks better, because I know you're going to message me on Mondays about something we said in the podcast, and we're going to have a cool conversation about it, and we talk pretty constantly, and that's all through the podcast, and so happy to have you on board. Thank you for the continued support and just being a great dude with a great voice.
Agreed.
That message was we've pre-listened to a few of them. That message was sent to me by Anthony right at the very beginning of my quarantine, and I was super in my feels at that point, and it got me pretty emotional when I heard it. I was very appreciative of being able to help support you, through your life and give you entertainment to keep your Mondays better.
Yeah, it's a little bit too much responsibility for me. I don't want to be a deciding factor on whether somebody's Monday is good or not, but
well, you are, though.
Yeah, no, it's actually it's super cool. I think that's awesome. It still blows my mind that anybody listens, let alone listens consistently and enjoys it.
Yeah, I think one of our other messages has something to say about that.
Well, Steven and I actually talked about this next trailer that came out, because he said it looks tight, but it's probably going to make him throw up, which is Evil Dead Rise. We finally got a trailer. We got a poster first a couple days beforehand, which seems to be the routine.
I heard people are hating on the poster.
Yeah, I almost sent you a screenshot because, it just plays into the whole, people getting so fucking upset. And they'll, in the spiels of why they're so upset, they'll make sure to say, and by the way, I'm the biggest fan of Evil Dead. And I'm then why? And it's the same with Scream, where it's I'm the biggest fan of Scream, which is why I'm going to spend all of the time leading up to any new Scream or any new Evil Dead talking about how shitty it's going to be based on a poster. Posters suck these days for the most part.
Yeah, the poster's not great.
Yeah.
But I'm not oh, no, I don't want to watch this movie. It's Evil Dead. I'm you said, I'm a fan of this franchise, so I'm going to go watch
and I have not been,
the franchise.
I have not been disappointed by this franchise
at any turn.
At any point, at any movie. Army of Darkness is not my favorite of all of the movies.
It's still fun.
Exactly. And I'm and they've been so different that it's cool to see that. Based on, did both of you watch the trailer, or did you avoid it?
I've avoided it. I've avoided it. I probably will watch it at some point. I just haven't taken.
I accidentally watched
to watch
double
it.
Trailer because I saw one trailer on Twitter, which I think is the trailer that most people have seen, and then when I went to show my sister the trailer that evening, I clicked on the Australian trailer, which had a ton of
extra shit
footage.
in it.
Yeah.
Well, even between the green band and the red band, there's a lot of different stuff. I was like, holy shit. I wanted to see what the difference was between the two. So there's a teaser, which I think is great. it's like 2 seconds, and it gave me chills.
Is it just the girl going up to the door?
Yeah.
And like,
And I
you
was
look
like,
so good, mommy.
That for me, that was perfect. And then I was like, okay, now that enough had me really interested in what these other 2 trailers are. The Red Band one for me showed a lot of stuff that I'm gonna be looking forward to during the movie, like just to see, like, not kills necessarily, but like mutilation. Where I was like, oh fuck that.
Yeah, there's a scalping in the trailer that's pretty fucking hardcore, to the point that my sister like wouldn't watch it. Like when she saw that it was about to happen, she like closed her eyes and looked away. She was like, I can't do it. So it looks like, and most people have been saying the same thing, this looks like it is an unofficial sequel to Fede Alvarez's 2013 Evil Dead. It has a very similar style. It looks like it's super gory looking. Seeing the trailer, some of it feels like it could go the route of being a more conventional like family horror movie, but I do like seeing the Evil Dead, like the Necronomicon, traveling around and affecting other people, where it's not always just a cabin in the woods. Like having it be in an apartment building, having it be a mother going crazy, and it's like, you know, if you're a kid and your mom is fucking stabbing herself in the face with glass or whatever, that's pretty horrifying. So it looks like it's going to be very fucked up, and it just made me realize, like, remembering back to the 2013 Evil Dead, the fact that that movie is 10 years old now.
Holy
and
shit.
was as got away with having so much fucked up shit in that movie. Like it pushes it pretty far. Like there are still some scenes where I'm like, ugh, that's making my stomach turn.
I would say, if you're anyone that doesn't really want spoilers, like, this does show a lot, and it seems like it might be giving away some plot points. So I don't know if you should watch it, to be honest with you. Maybe the little teaser, I think, might tickle your fancy, but I don't know if you should watch any of the full-length ones.
Well, what I was saying, it might have been in the group chat, but to him, it was like, for me, like, if I watch it once and then don't watch any more after this, I'll forget everything pretty much. Like, I might remember the, like, scalping thing, but other than that, I'm probably not going to remember much from this trailer. And it's not too long until the movie comes out, so.
I'm interested to see if that trailer will show up in front of Megan when we go to see it, because I mean, we've already said it during our Wanuary, we're going to watch Megan.
Is that a theater movie?
It is a theater movie.
It is a theater movie.
Today, actually, right?
Yeah, it came out today.
At the time of recording. All right.
Yep. Let's hit it with another message, bro.
All right, let's get a short and sweetie here. This is from former patron Josh.
Hey guys, congratulations on 200 episodes about shit no one gives a fuck about. Here's to 200 more.
Damn straight.
But in all seriousness, guys, congratulations. Proud of you. Hope you keep doing what you're doing and having fun with it.
Tell me where you are, Josh.
Thank you, Josh. We appreciate the support.
Yeah, that's awesome. That one made me laugh when I heard it earlier.
That's what I want. I want like a honey roast.
Yeah,
they call it.
Or you can just kind of sit here and be like, "Ooh, you bad." Like, that's true, but also real fucked up. Beau is Afraid. We talked about Ari Aster's Joaquin Phoenix on our last episode, I think. A much better poster. I sent it to you guys. Did you check it out?
With the four faces?
The 4 different, it kind of answers the question of, was that a young Joaquin Phoenix on the previous poster? It looks like this has a young, middle-aged, old, super old Joaquin Phoenix. But the movie is Beau is Afraid, and just like with Evil Dead, this poster is teasing the fact that next week we are getting our first trailer for Beau is Afraid. So I'm very excited for that. So look out for, at least I'll watch it. So look out for at least my opinions on it.
I'll probably
on our
watch
next
it.
episode.
I doubt that anything that Ari puts in the trailer. I mean, I'd have to go back and watch the other 2, but I don't think it's going to prepare you for
all
what
it's
his
going to
movies
be
are like.
is just like some character making a weird noise with their mouth and then like string like yeah.
Cool. Have another one?
Hit me with your best audio message.
All right, let's see. Let's get another long one.
Long one.
Long one.
Oh, Long Watson.
Hello, Porcelain Peak fans. My name is Jeffrey Chuck Norris. I am one half of the hosting team of Chuck and Ruff Go to the Movies. And I'm here to tell you that I am super excited that Porcelain Peak has hit its 200th episode. What a milestone! It is a complete and utter testament to true fans of the strange, the unusual, the horror, and the sci-fi. I personally have been a fan for quite a while now, and I am so glad that I have gotten to know all of the wonderful Porcelain Peak hosts, John, Tone, Anthony, just great people. My favorite part of the whole show has to be trivia. I suck at it, but I always have a blast listening to it and trying to guess along. And the few times that I have participated, well, like I said, it's fun. They've also been on my show, and they've just been wonderful guests, wonderful people, wonderful friends. So I just cannot tell you enough how excited I am that they've hit 200 and how I look forward to 200 more. I do, however, would like to ask one question for my Porcelain Peak peeps here. What is your least favorite sci-fi movie and why?
Oh shit! The first thing that pops into my head, what's that one with Channing Tatum where he's like walking around on space skates?
Jupiter Ascending.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why.
Is a pretty bad one.
That's the first thing that popped into my head. But I mean, I know there's a worse movie. It's like half the Transformers franchise sucks.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything that like really stands out in the sci-fi realm. I mean,
I still really don't like Fifth Element.
And I was like,
I was gonna say is like I'm not big on Fifth Element, but I also don't like hate it. So I don't know if I would call it my least favorite sci-fi film. I'm looking
I think the last time because we watched it for kind of like a
Someone's Redemption, I think.
it wasn't that he hadn't seen it. I don't think it was like a.
I hadn't seen it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was a Redemption. Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I rewatched it then to kind of like give it like another like fair shake. I still don't like it, but I think that I hate it a lot less than I did before. I don't know. Gemini Man is really, really bad.
Oh, Gemini Man. Yeah. Yeah.
I never even watched that one.
Yeah, it's rough. I also Valerian in the City of a Thousand Planets or whatever it is.
Shocker though, because that's the same dude.
Yeah, Luc Besson.
Yeah. Fifth Element.
Yeah, not good. Not a good.
Not a good.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I just keep like in my head. I just keep going to like really bad superhero stuff. Like I'm thinking like Spawn or Steel are pretty bad.
Fan Four Stick
is pretty terrible. Yeah. I would probably go with like Jupiter Ascending too. Something similar to that. But yeah, it's weird because I feel like for horror, I can probably think of think of ones that I really don't like. But for sci-fi, not so much. But I probably just don't go out of my way to watch really terrible sci-fi movies.
It seems even like an undertaking.
Well, even something like, and it also, it's like, okay, what? Because the question was, what's your least favorite sci-fi movie? Not like, what do you think is the worst sci-fi movie? Because something like Plan 9 from Outer Space, I absolutely love, but it's a terrible movie. Yeah. So it's just like, that's what makes it, I think, a tough question is like, I do love some terrible schlocky sci-fi stuff, but
sometimes we also go out of our way to intentionally watch bad horror movies, and usually with sci-fi stuff we try to watch like good ones.
Yeah, and like classics and stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also, it goes to kind of like our personalities when it comes to films. Like when you watch a bad horror movie, there isn't a genre that does better in the so bad it's good territory. I think that horror really nails like having like an over the top campy experience. Mm-hmm. And usually horror movies that are the worst are the ones that aren't like bad made movies, are just boring to watch. And with sci-fi, like they can get so overly complicated, and that can be where things get drugged down. Yeah. And I think that that's part of why we like shy away from some of the like the more like intentionally shitty sci-fi movies.
Well, when a sci-fi movie is bordering on shitty, sometimes it goes into the beautiful B-movie territory. And speaking of B-movie sci-fi, Michael Giacchino, director of Werewolf by Night and composer for a ton of great movies, is making a remake of 1954's Them.
Huh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Right on, which we talked about on the show.
Yeah. So that's why I thought you guys would find that interesting. So yeah, get ready for, I don't know if he's going to do it in a Werewolf by Night black and white style, or if he's going to do a more modern CG crazy ants. Maybe there will be more than 2 giant ants in the movie. It'd be insane.
I say just do one giant ant.
Yeah.
them giant ant.
That's usually what people say when they see me. Giant ant. Yeah.
Well, you want to rattle off a couple more quick ones?
Yeah.
This one comes from listener Aaron. Make sure I got the right one. This is a private one.
Congratulations on the 200th episode of my favorite podcast.
Woo! Short and sweet. Thanks.
I love that.
Yeah.
Got another one. This one's from Trish.
Congratulations on your 200th episode.
Sounds like you're taking a piss there.
Is that was she swimming with the Navi? Was she trying to disarm a nuke at the bottom of a trench?
And then I think we got 3 more, so I don't know how many more newses you have.
3.
Okay, perfect.
All right, so this is a quick bit of news. None of these are huge things, but I did want to mention that the horror mystery series 1899 was canceled by Netflix after 1 season.
Oh, no.
Which is,
I think nobody watched it.
I mean, Jigsaw watched it, and she said she had a good time with it.
Well, even, like, I felt bad because Dark is one of my all-time favorite shows.
So fucking
and
good,
I absolutely adore, I was obsessed with that, trawling Reddit forums and stuff, because it's one of those kind of shows based, a bunch of our D&D campaign that we played together around, the premise of that show.
We've been trying to find those cool lamps.
Yeah. And so I was so stoked for their new project, and watching this, I was kind of interested in it, but I can definitely see how people didn't get farther than maybe a couple episodes in this. And unfortunately, that is a death sentence with Netflix, which is weird because these creators kind of, Dark is one of those shows that was a smash, but surprise hit for them, and got 3 seasons and needed those 3 seasons to tell that story. And it looks like that was the intention with this show. And so it's just really sad that it's it's just more affirmation to the people who, and I've seen this sentiment a lot on Twitter, of being I don't even want to start a new show on Netflix because I don't know if I'm going to get left on a cliffhanger with a canceled 1 season show. And so a lot of people are becoming really disinterested in watching stuff on Netflix because they have such a terrible track record of not letting their showrunners and creatives complete the stories that they're trying to tell.
Yeah, outside of, well, I mean, in terms of anything that's narrative, people are just going to start watching their competition shows, and that's all.
That's
Netflix
what I was
is gonna
telling
become.
Adrian the other day. Is this is all of the streaming services are gravitating more and more toward just all being reality TV and competition shows, because those are cheap to make. People will watch the shit out of them constantly, and they can just keep going on for season after season with new casts and stuff for no money. Or just fly everybody out to an island or whatever the fuck. And yeah,
Island.
Yeah, but then a show like 1899 cost a shit ton of money, but it's because they had this crazy, multinational cast and this super elaborate story, and they were using the volume and all this stuff. And it's sad because it just shows, and we've talked about this, where these streaming companies, where the priority is. It's not with creating, like you were saying, cultural touchstones and
timeless
content and things people are going to remember, and stories that impact people. It's, we got to get the most money by getting the most viewers to subscribe to blah, 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 blah. And so you end up with Netflix is basically just Stranger Things. And
if it doesn't hit, they're out with it, which is crazy because Hemlock Grove didn't hit. When they revamped Arrested Development, it didn't hit. Stranger Things was their first big hit. I think Orange is the New Black hit a little bit, but not people were dying to watch it that I know of. Mm-hmm. It's weird because they have gone from we'll push stuff through Arrested Development, or with Dark, where you and I are the only people I know that even watched that show.
Yeah.
But then they gave it 3 seasons. It's now it's just you get one off. If it's not slapping whatever numbers we have imagined, then you're getting nothing else.
Well, and it feels you get whiplash because a show like this comes out 2 months ago, 3 months ago, not that long ago. 1899 came out and it's already canceled. It's just flash in the pan, boom, and it's gone. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But let's see if we can cheer ourselves up with another audio message.
Oh, we can. Here we go. This one is from listener Nick. Oh, shit. I was dropping my mic. I'm too excited.
Yo, congratulations, you guys, on 200 episodes of Porcelain Peak Podcast. Absolutely incredible. Here's to 200 more, and I hope everybody has a great year. Let's get into some really gruesome horror this year, you guys. Love you all. See you later.
I ain't mad about that.
Well, I mean, we are talking about the Saw movies.
Yeah.
Creep cult.
We are getting gruesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it. And yeah, I think we should get into some real gross stuff. Antichrist? Anyone?
I've been considering it recently because it's been like I have been watching so much less horror these days, just because I'm watching a lot of other types of movies, and I am like, I need to come back like into and watch some real fucked up shit to like really get me into like the dark.
To remind you why you stopped watching it.
Yeah. Ooh. You guys fans of Ridley Scott?
A little bit.
I would say sometimes.
Yeah.
You guys fans of the Russell Crowe movie Gladiator? Were you not entertained?
It's a good movie.
I've never been able to finish it. Every time I turn it on, I fall asleep.
It's very long. It is prohibitively long.
Yeah, I'm talking about like first 10 minutes.
Yeah, I've watched it one time in my life, but I know a lot of people are very obsessed with it.
I'm interested in it, though.
Yeah, it's not necessarily horror or sci-fi related, but there is a Gladiator 2 being made.
Okay.
With Ridley Scott. And it looks like it is a sequel to the original Gladiator with the son of Russell Crowe's character, Maximus. Decimus Meridian, I think. And it looks like star Paul Mescal from the show, I think it's Normal People, and from the movie After Sun, which I have talked to you guys about being like one of my new favorite movies, and also the movie that made me cry the most this year.
I think I've seen that show.
Yeah, has been tapped to be in Gladiator 2. So there you go. Didn't know if you were interested, but it's Ridley Scott, so I thought I'd bring it up.
Right on. Just for the old Scots. All right, John.
You got another message for
you want to read
message man.
The Interns?
Let's do it.
Okay, I'll play Bees, and then you can read that to us.
I thought you were going to say I'll play beats, like you're going to put down a beat. Yeah.
Hit me with that email.
Boots and pants and boots and pants.
All right, this one is from someone close to John.
Hey, Mrs. Johnsaw here. I think that's what you call him. I don't know. I don't want to listen. But who actually does?
She's honest.
It's hard to believe that you guys still have shit to say after 200 episodes. But on second thought, you're 2.5 white men. Of course you have opinions on everything. In all seriousness, congrats on not killing each other after 200 episodes. Oh, and hashtag justice for Constance.
What? It's a conspiracy, goddammit!
By the woman who sleeps next to me.
I swear to God, if I go on Twitter after this and and it's trending, justice for Constance,
I'm gonna lose my damn mind.
That'd be pretty funny. John, hit us with that.
All right. So this one is from ex-porcelain producer Ashley the Intern. I'm so proud of you guys for putting yourselves out there every single week, even though it's just Steven listening. In all seriousness, thank you for making our Mondays bearable and bringing all of us joy. Congratulations on 200 episodes. With all the love in the world, Ashley the intern/former Porcelain Peak producer.
Thanks, Ash. We appreciate your love and support.
and you'll always be a producer in my heart.
Yeah.
Because we kind of got rid of the producer tier. So, but I mean, I'm sure you've produced something at some point, so makes you a producer in my eyes. Mm-hmm. That was a beautiful message. Thank you for taking the time to write that. It's getting a little overwhelming hearing all these nice things from people.
We got one left.
Okay. Well, I got one last piece of news for you. Avatar, The Way of Water.
Here we go.
We want to touch. I wanted to quickly touch base on how this small little indie picture from new visionary sci-fi director James Cameron is doing. Avatar: The Way of Water has glided by Furious 7 to break into the all-time box office top 10. So it is in the top 10 for highest grossing movies of all time. Right now it's sitting at $1.516 billion.
We knew it was going to cross a B. We
so
called
it needs a half a bill to get to $2 billion.
Yep.
Half a mil to get to $2 billion. And, or whatever, I don't know. It needs a lot of money, but it is just kind of powering through these holidays, which is really what I expected would happen. Is like it hasn't really had any great competition. Babylon came out, and some people fucking loved it, and some people thought it was complete trash.
And then almost nobody watched it.
Nobody watched it anyway. And then I think really the only thing that's going to be stealing some eyes from it right now is Megan. And even that's just for the horror fans who would rather go see a 90-minute horror movie than a 3-hour James Cameron movie. But
weird place.
I've been hearing more and more people coming out of the woodwork who I really would never have thought would enjoy an Avatar movie, being like, yeah, I bawled my eyes out several times. Like, I thought it was incredible. So it's really impressing people, and I'm really happy about that because I liked it a lot and I want it to do well. And Cameron said in a recent interview that with this amount of money being made, he is now certain that pretty much the rest of his career is going to be making Avatar movies. He was like, well, the demand's there. People are going to see them. So I'm going to keep making them.
Yeah. There was also like 10 years in anticipation. I don't know if
we're getting them every 2 years, it's going to be different. Yeah.
Remember how you were excited about Star Wars and then how by the end of it, you're like, yeah, I don't care.
Can this please just be over? Yeah. So that's all I got for news. Let's wrap up our audio messages.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you again, guys.
Last one here from our littlest listeners. Hopefully, maybe, I don't know if they're listening. Sometimes I hope not.
Congrats on 200 episodes.
There you go.
Yeah.
A couple of my nieces and my sister. Thanks, guys. We hope you're listening, and sorry for all the swearing. And the dick jokes.
I mean, we do worse than swear here.
Yeah,
that's for
fair
sure.
enough.
Sorry, not fucking sorry.
Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for Chop Talk. Thank you for sticking with us if you powered through all of that. And congrats to you guys on making it to 200 episodes. It's been crazy.
I mean, technically, I've only been on
like 140-ish.
You're part of the show. Shut your mouth.
Part of the show, part
And
of the crew,
out.
part of the ship, yeah.
Anyway, I just, usually I'm having a shit day and getting together with you guys turns that around for me. So, congrats to you both.
Around,
Yeah, I mean, like
I've
I've said before, this is the thing that I look forward to, and it's a thing that kind of like anchors my week. Gives me the ability to flex creative muscles. I've learned new things that could that I could potentially turn into a trade if I wanted to, through video and audio editing and things like that. But it like in reality, like even without a camera, without microphones, like being able to sit and chit chat with my boys is, like I said, it's very important to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this show and me joining it came at a very impactful time in my life. I was going through a lot of personal troubles and had just kind of come out the other side of those. Yeah, saw the light at the end of the tunnel, which was Porcelain Peak. And it's been a crazy ride, but I basically got the job that I have based on doing the social media and stuff for this show. I've made a ton of connections, friends who do other podcasts, people who are just interested in horror and sci-fi movies. I think the fact that I've seen so many great movies in and out of the horror and sci-fi genres is because we continue to keep, like, I think I'm a much better movie watcher and a much better movie discusser. I'm better at discussing movies because we've done it for such a long time that, like, I just really feel like if somebody wants to sit down and talk movies with me, I can just go and have a great conversation. And my boss and I do it all the time. Just like, hey, I watched Easy Rider, and we just talk about it. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think that I would be as deep into the cinema world if we didn't have this show.
You would just be that meme of Leonardo DiCaprio going like this to Jack Nicholson being on the screen instead of like actually enjoying the movie for what it is.
Yeah. So
don't worry about how the sausage is made. Just worry about enjoying the sausage, huh?
Sure. Whatever you say, boss.
Anyway, and we're gonna move on to trivia right now.
Ask me about my wiener.
That Christmas house of wax, the fog, piranha. It's one of those, right? Right?
Before we dive into our trivia questions, we had our bonus question last week about James Cameron winning a Razzie. You want to remind us about that and hit us with the answer, sir?
Yeah, so back in the 80s, I believe, James Cameron won a Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Screenplay, and I asked if anybody could guess what movie he won that for. Tone, your guess right off the rip was Rambo First Blood Part 2. And John...
was a joke answer because I knew he already got it.
Yeah, and so the answer was Rambo First Blood Part 2. I haven't seen any of the Rambo movies, so I can't speak to the quality of that one. But yeah, it's kind of interesting that he has that Razzie on his record. I bet it haunts him at night.
Yeah, I'm sure with the
on his pile of money,
$1.5 billion he just made. He's like, ah. That damn Razzie.
So I had a quick follow-up question to tie into the theme of what we're talking about this week. So James Wan is he has a thing for creepy dolls. Creepy dolls show up in Saw, Billy the Puppet. Dead Silence is all based around creepy dolls. Annabelle, creepy doll. Megan, creepy doll girl. So he was asked in an interview recently, what's up with all the creepy fucking dolls? Where did that come from? And he named a specific movie that he saw as a child that inspired his love for collecting and featuring creepy dolls in his movies. Can you guess what the movie is?
Is it Child's Play?
Is it a horror movie?
It's a horror movie,
okay.
Yeah. With a creepy doll of some sort. Child's Play is a good guess.
I'll say Magic.
Magic? Okay, I will reveal the answer to this question next week.
Say my fault. Like my secondary guess that doesn't count for anything would be Poltergeist.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my secondary would be Puppet Master.
Okay. All right, and then you said you had an unrelated but interesting trivia question for us.
Yes. Well, let me ask you this first. If you say actor, does that mean anybody?
Actor means both. We've had this discussion before. Actor is of
gender
any
neutral.
Yeah, is of any
Okay.
gender
Thespian.
or combination of.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, here's one. Which thespian's father created the Tonight Show and the Today Show, and was like the head of NBC for a while?
A famous actor's dad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say.
I like household name actor.
I'm gonna say it was Drew Barrymore's father, Lionel Barrymore.
Okay.
It was Jeffrey Fallon.
Winona Ryder.
I guess neither of you are that close. But anyway, you're kind of close technically because I think we can jump from one to the other. But it is Sigourney Weaver.
Who's Sigourney Weaver's papa?
His name is, I think he just goes by Pat. He goes by Pat Weaver.
Dream Weaver.
Yeah, his name's Dream Weaver. Yeah, but he ran, or he created the Today Show because she was on Smartless and she was talking about it and she was saying that TV was on from 4 to 6 or whatever, 4 to 8, whatever the case may be. It was all evening stuff. People weren't really watching TV like we do now, where it's you can have it on all the time because that's where the programming is. And so he was like, well, let's create a morning show and then let's create an evening show for that. And he created the Today Show and the Tonight Show. And they're like, we don't know about this. And he was like, yeah, fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway.
Wow. Well, smart man. Late night TV is dying currently, but it had a good run.
Yeah. But that's just crazy. That I listened to that, and then I was curious about it, and that sent me down a rabbit hole of what happened with Conan. And I was like, I got to stop reading this.
For Conan was like, I don't need to make for television anymore. I literally can just do a podcast.
Well, he saw the writing on the wall and saw that the internet is killing late night TV, just like it's killed every other form of entertainment. So he pivoted, and it was a smart move.
Well, that's your little bonus.
So,
That's pretty cool, though. Yeah, I mean, all
yes,
the family
James Wan doll. Remember that.
Yeah.
Guess for next
comments.
week.
All right, we're going to play Trivial Pursuit. We had a tie last week. We got that information because I know you're all dying to know. And how this game works is it is 6 categories. We'll read a category and then go around in a circle reading to each other, with me to John, John to Anthony, and Anthony back to me to hopefully crown a singular winner. But mostly ties.
And the categories change up every time, correct?
Yes.
And they're completely illogical. Like the plot of the James Wan movie that we talked about in both our bonus and in this episode.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, you ready with that first category?
The category is monster.
John, what is the relationship between Ginger and Bridget in Ginger Snaps from 2000?
They're sisters.
That is correct.
Bridget Jones is a werewolf.
All right, Anthony, in The Mum from 1932.
Oh, shit.
The Mummy.
So
What
not the fun
actor played the titular character?
I prefer his other titular character he played in Frankenstein, but that was old Boris Karloff.
It is indeed Boris Karloff. I was trying to come up with a Boris Karloff joke and still got like a teensy bit of brain fog.
What if he was in Dragon Ball and his name was Boris Kakarov?
What if
There you go.
What if he decided that he was going to turn it around and in order
Boris
to
Karloff.
instead of horror films, he decided to do romantic comedies as Boris Karloff. Yeah, there we go. That's the joke. Tone. What actor portrayed the vicious vampire Severin in Near Dark from 1987?
Ooh.
Do you remember anybody that was in Near Dark?
Only Bill Paxton.
Is that your guess?
Yep.
Final answer?
Sure.
It was indeed Bill Paxton, R.I.P.
He is the vicious one of the group.
The only guy to be killed by a Terminator, an alien, and a Predator, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like horror and sci-fi's version of like an EGOT.
That's pretty funny. All right, so we're all on the board after round one.
He got killed.
A Predator, Terminator, and an alien. All tied up, and the next category is
Gore/disturbing.
Okay.
John. The murder of what family member does Sheriff Wydell avenge in The Devil's Rejects? The murder of what family member does Sheriff Wydell avenge in The Devil's Rejects?
Avenge me.
I'm gonna say child.
It is his brother.
Brother was my second guess.
He had two back-to-back sibling questions.
Yeah,
Weird.
that's the reason why I didn't go with brother was because I was like, are they gonna do back-to-back sibling questions?
It's like when you're doing a Scantron and you're like, oh, I've done too many C guesses. I should do something else.
So I've entered too many C's. I know that statistically it's the highest probability, but still. All right, Anthony. Although released as Dead Alive in 1992 in North America, what was the original title for the film?
Well, as Peter Jackson would say it in his accent, Brain Dead.
It's a pretty bad New Zealand accent. Brain Dead, eh?
It's Brain Dead.
It is indeed Brain Dead.
Cool. Tone, for your eyeball zone question, what is the name of the character that has no control over her titular trait in Teeth from 2007?
Oh fuck! What's the name of that character?
Mm-hmm.
Did we watch this together?
I've never seen it.
Oh,
Teeth McGreath.
I watched it with my sister. I thought when we were there, and I was like, "This is hella awkward."
I've seen parts of it in awkward situations, so maybe that's what it was. Like I just remember it being really awkward.
Yeah, cool.
I didn't know this was the character's name, but it's actually pretty clever.
Pearl.
Good guess, but it is Dawn O'Keefe, which I assume is a Georgia O'Keefe joke.
I almost said Georgia O'Keefe and the vagina with teeth.
Yeah, exactly. And the no good, really bad vagina with teeth.
Oh, fuck. All right. Well, that puts you in the lead at 2, and John and I are still tied at 1, and we're moving into our next category, which is
psychological.
Brainworms.
John, in what persona does the titular character of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde remain upon death?
The doctor. Dr. Jekyll.
That is correct.
Dr. Jekyll. Thank you for pronouncing it correctly.
I did do that. Anthony, at 7 p.m. on what date does the annual Purge commence in the Purge series from 2013 to, it says 2018 here, but I'm pretty sure there have been like 2 since then.
And a show, right?
Yeah.
Sí, claro.
Whatever happens to those shows? They get canceled a lot too. Because I mean that got right, and then what was the train one? Snowpiercer.
Yeah, weird. I think it's just they make a bad call on what potential franchises people care about.
Yeah, again,
spend
it
a ton
slap.
of money and it goes nowhere. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm going to say July 4th.
It's March 21st is the answer, but I can see why you went with July 4th.
Because they get like hella into the Patriot stuff later in the movies. Yeah, I couldn't remember. I was trying to do the voice in my head. Like, it's this.
All murder is legal.
Yeah, all murder is legal.
They have like a spoof one, and I think it's about drugs. Like all drugs are legal.
Really?
Yeah, so I want to check that out. They just made a sequel. That's Christmas version of it.
Oh, is it The Binge?
Yeah.
That was called? Yeah.
The Binge and the Purge.
Yeah, and then and it's like the Christmas Binge, I think, is the newest one. Yeah.
Yeah, I know Danny Trejo, I think, is in the Christmas one. I saw he did like one of the most iconic characters thing.
Oh, okay.
For your question, in your Brainworms category, Tone, what character is the owner of the haunted house in House on Haunted Hill from 1959? You're never going to get it.
You're never going to get it.
Vincent Price.
Probably, but the character's name is Watson Pritchard.
Damn it.
That's a name. So you and I have 2. You got Un.
Yeah, and we're moving into paranormal.
It is indeed paranormal.
Woo! John, in what Italian city is John Baxter restoring an old church in Don't Look Now from 1973?
You said what Italian city?
Yes.
So...
And it's not the Mushroom Kingdom.
So it's not Vatican City, because Vatican City is its own thing. It's technically not Italy. I am going to say...
Yeah, that doesn't narrow it down too much for it.
I'm going to say Rome?
It is Venice.
Venice is my second guess. Son of a bitch.
I think there's a lot of like gondola stuff in that movie. Because the daughter drowns, and so there's all the water. I probably would have guessed wrong, too, anyway. Cool.
No way I was gondola to get that right.
It's me, Donald Sutherland.
Anthony, what is the name of the demon-tormenting protagonist Christine Brown in Drag Me to Hell from 2009?
Oh, that's good trivia.
What's the name of the demon?
Uh-huh.
Makes me so mad when stuff comes up where it's like we spent a whole fucking Sam Raimi month and talked so much about this movie.
Sam Raimi that we didn't call Sam Raimi until literally the last minute of the last episode of Sam Raimi.
Is that true?
Yeah, we called it something else.
I'm gonna say it's our old dear friend, the Gabagool, because I have no idea.
It's either Lamia or Lamia, Lamia.
Yeah, now I do remember that.
Like a lamb.
Mm.
Tone, you have a complex multi-part question.
All right, not a fan.
What are the 3 rules to Ouija in Ouija, Origin of Evil from 2016?
Flanagan Shenanigan.
My favorite board game, Ouija.
I'm going to abstain from arguing.
What are the 3 rules? You got to get them in the exact order that they're listed here.
No, I don't.
All right, I've got your counter.
Oh, I was like, what's up? You want a high 3?
Well, when we did a Ouija board, do you remember any of the rules that we read?
Yes.
That said things we shouldn't
do. Always close it out.
Mm-hmm. Always say goodbye. That's one.
Don't. Fuck. It's like don't taunt the spirits. I don't know. And then greet them.
It's not listed.
All right, whatever. What do you got?
Not sure. All right, so you always say goodbye. That's one you got. Never play alone is another one.
Okay.
And the third one, which we fragrantly violated,
It's
is
just don't
never play in a cemetery.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which is why we explicitly went to a cemetery to play ours.
Yeah, we got a Friday the 13th coming up at time of recording. It's in a week.
We should take another shot. We should double down on the
I
Ouija.
will be in San Francisco at that time.
Oh, that's correct.
Yeah, that's how we're going to communicate with you. The Ouija board.
I'm going to be in the spirit plane, aka at a concert in San Francisco.
In the further, bro.
So you two are still tied at 2, and I have the 1.
Yes.
Wow, real exciting game going on.
I know.
Hey, let's get it popping with Killer.
John, what Christian ceremony is Karen attending on the day she is murdered in Alice, Sweet Alice? Aren't Alice, Sweet Alice and Don't Look Now not kind of related? Like, didn't one inspire the other?
I think so. Yeah, I think.
Or something like that?
Yeah, I forget which order, but yeah, one I'm pretty sure inspired the other because of the whole raincoat imagery and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say a baptism.
It's her first communion.
And that's the alternate title of the movie is Communion, which is, yeah.
There you go.
Neat. Anthony, is the killer caught at the end of Black Christmas from 1974?
No.
The answer is no.
Nice, for the lead.
Yeah, I didn't rewatch the 70s version, but I rewatched the 2009 version this past Christmas season.
Had yourself some skin cookies?
Yeah, it's a pretty gross movie.
I like that movie.
Not terrible. Yeah, I don't think it's terrible. I enjoy it a lot more than the fucking Blumhouse one.
Yeah.
That's for damn sure.
Carrie Elwes.
Oh, yeah. Tone, in what 1997 film does one of the criminals rewind the film itself to prevent the death of his partner? Oh. Huge spoiler if you haven't seen this movie.
Or this movie. Come on, baby.
Is that a Funny Games?
It is indeed Funny Games.
Or
good job.
Funny Games.
Yeah, there we go.
Naomi Watts' Funny Games.
Whoo! All right. So Anthony's got 3 and we got 2.
Yeah.
All right, John, for your fucking softball of an international question.
We'll take softball international questions.
The Killer and the Bird with the Crystal Plumage from 1970 wears what color gloves?
Are we saying that they're black gloves?
That
black
is correct,
gloves?
John.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. What? I mean, I guess if you're not all hip on the Giallo shit, that might be a tough question.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, Giallo does literally mean yellow.
It was all Giallo.
Anthony, in The Orphanage from 2007, Laura wants the reopened orphanage to specifically cater to what type of children?
Dead.
Ghost kids.
This is for the win, baby.
I know, and I'm not sure, which makes me nervous. I don't know. I'm just gonna guess refugees.
It's children with disabilities.
That was my.
You had the same problem I did.
Yeah.
You went one line of logic too far. You're
Exactly. Yeah. Tone. Who directed "Let the Right One In" from 2008?
I thought you were directed to let me in.
Not that one.
I don't know. Anders Holdvik.
Is it Yorgos Lanthimos?
Is it?
No.
No.
The answer is Tomas Alfredson.
So no, I just said the most foreign name that I could think of.
So
you
what
guys
is
tied
that?
again.
We did tie again. Back-to-back weeks.
Oh, man. Well,
tenuous streaks all around.
Yeah, so no sense of conclusion in episode 200, but that's okay. That means we have to keep going after this episode so we can break that tie, get some streaks going.
Man, I thought I was going to tie with you guys.
I was a little rusty. There.
I wanted a 3-way, you know? And a tie.
Menage
We're going to move on
Triv.
to our main discussion, right? Meow.
Join the creep cult. $5 a month at patreon.com/porcelainpeak for exclusive content, merch discounts, and more. Join the creep cult. $5 a month at patreon.com/porcelainpeak for exclusive content, merch discounts, and more.
Hey, you want to see something really scary?
Welcome back for our main discussion this week. As we mentioned, you want to throw your voice and I'll do it?
Welcome to the main dish of Porcelain Peak. I'm Tone, the world's lamest puppet.
Fuck you, dude. All right, yeah. So there's that, and we're talking about James Wan's Dead Silence. To kick off our James Wanuary.
Yeah, so if you want to get a more complete picture of this whole story, tune into our Creep Cult bonus episode where we talked about Saw, James Wan and Lee Winnell's first director-writer effort, their debut. So
not their credit.
Based on the smash success of the first Saw, not only was a sequel to Saw greenlit the weekend after Saw came out,
holy cow,
but the studio, basically right after it premiered at Sundance, they were like, hey, we still don't know if this movie is going to do really well at the box office, so you guys should have a backup idea, another movie you can go make in case that one tanks. You'll have something else in the works. And apparently Lee Winnell just went and like locked himself in a room and paced around until he was able to vomit up the concept for Dead Silence.
Seems like it.
He has since written a long blog post called Dud Silence about how terrible the entire process of writing and making and putting this movie together was, and how it is his least favorite thing that he's ever made. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk about Dead Silence.
Sure, yeah. So if you don't know, it stars
Ryan Quanten
and Donnie Wahlberg, who also is in Saw 2.
Mm-hmm.
And it is about a guy who gets a puppet delivered to his home, and then bad shit starts happening. So he goes back to his hometown,
where there's like a old folk tale,
an urban legend about Mary Shaw. Beware the stare of Mary Shaw. She had no children, only dolls. If you see her in your dreams, be sure to never ever scream.
Right, which apparently has transcended the small town because his wife knows it, kind of.
Well, I think he did she because I think they both came from that town.
Oh, did she?
Yeah,
oh, okay,
so that's how they both know it. But so yeah, he goes back to the town, Ravens Fair, a quiet place to live.
So funny.
And yeah, when he gets there, it is pretty apparent that the ghost of Mary Shaw is enacting some sort of revenge plot for having been, I don't know, not appreciated for her amazing ventriloquism abilities when she was alive.
Well, and homie also has a problem with his apparent too.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. No, I won't spoil it this early, but
it's very odd. What you're talking about not spoiling, as soon as it happened, I was like, okay, so that's...
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, because I've seen this movie so many times, it's hard, but
I've seen it once, like when it came out, so I remembered nothing except that it was about a doll.
Yeah. So... Similar to Saw, they tried to do another big twist ending with this one. We'll get to that in just a little bit. But yeah, let's talk about first, now that we've kind of summarized the plot, what we like about this movie. Because there are some things that I think are pretty cool about this. I think that the general idea, yeah, is super cool. I like the ways they use the ventriloquism to set up creepy moments. There's a lot of like the voice throwing happening where Mary Shaw, the ghost of Mary Shaw, is able to imitate the voices of people that she has killed.
I really like that part of it too, and I think that you said that in one of the cuts that shows her like taking tongue and has like this crazy tongue.
Yeah, so I don't know. Did you watch the version that's the unrated version or the theatrical, or do you know?
Did they have tongues?
Big CG tongues.
I believe it was whatever the non-theatrical version is.
Yeah, so in the theatrical version, there are no big CG tongues, and the movie is only a few minutes shorter. I think there's just a couple added scenes with Donnie Wahlberg, like talking to his partner, and a couple little like added things. But the biggest change between the original and the theatrical is that she has the Mary Shaw and her dolls have this like mega tongue thing that's made up of all of the tongues that she's stolen from different people, and it comes out and licks the characters, and it's pretty ridiculous.
But the idea of her taking their tongues and then because of that being able to take their voice, I know that's not how the vocal cords work, but
it's a cool.
I like that idea. Yeah.
And also at the end of the day, it's a ghost. So really, like if you try to logic out how it makes sense, you're doing yourself a disservice. It's a ghost story. Just roll with it. She has spooky ghost powers.
But
I do like how
that.
fucked up and brutal the kills are when you get to see like how there's just like a flash of her coming up and then just the jaw just completely,
like hanging.
It reminds me of the only decent part of that Kiefer Sutherland movie, Mirrors. The woman like looking in the mirror and then ripping her fucking jaw off. But yeah, people just getting their jaws ripped off constantly. Donnie Wahlberg, it clicked with me this time around that maybe the reason that he is constantly shaving with an electric razor throughout this whole movie is I guess it was supposed to be some sort of character development to show that he's like always on the run, like always like at his wit's end or whatever. But to me, I thought it was kind of ironic that he gets his whole jaw ripped off at the end, and he's been spending so much time trying to maintain that stubble, and it all just gets ripped off.
He's such like a caricature character. Like I was just like, oh, you're so one note, and then he's like, I don't know. His acting is pretty rough in this, and he's not that bad in Saw 2.
Yeah, he really is just diet Mark Wahlberg, and that's really not saying anything. Like Mark Wahlberg, I don't know why I'm having such a hard time with the Wahlbergs, but
hi, my name is Donnie. I'm here to play a detective.
Yeah, pretty much. I think that's what he does now. I think he's on like one of those procedural cop
Blue
shows.
Bloods.
Yeah, his entire bit throughout this movie is the classic non-believer, skeptic, like you murdered your wife, because that's the set. Like you said, that's the setup. Is that the doll comes and Mary Shaw murders this guy's pregnant wife, which is pretty fucked up. And then,
is she?
Yeah, that's the reveal. The doll reveals at the end, like the reason that Mary Shaw killed his wife is because he wasn't the last Ashen.
Oh, I missed
the baby
that. Okay,
was. So
I was wondering because she like does the bump, and then when she lands on her stomach, and I was like, oh, that's.
And then she's like spitting up blood. It's
Yeah.
pretty hardcore.
Yeah. I do like that they spend a lot of time in like this creepy cemetery where she's supposed to be buried with all of these dolls. They spend a lot of time investigating there.
This town is just straight up like horror junction. Like everything is so over the top in the design of being like creepy,
giant creepy mansion, and then also very creepy like Victorian era cemetery.
Yeah,
and also like the theater, such a cool idea. Like we're putting a theater on a lake.
Yeah, and there's like a tree growing inside the theater, and at the cemetery, it's like just the idea of this woman who was buried with 100 of her dolls is like such a weird, creepy idea.
101 Dalmatians.
I love the scene with her performance and the kid from
The Boy,
Atypical and It Follows,
right.
But when she's doing that performance and she's arguing with Billy the puppet, and then it gets to that point where they're both talking at the same time, and the audience is like, "Whoa, that's so impressive!" And you're like, "But." That's spooky that the doll is talking at the same time as her.
Do they, and maybe I missed it again, but do they explain that he has like a mind of his own?
No. So in the trivia, I read that was just supposed to imply that Mary Shaw was so on top of her craft that she was actually legitimately able to do both voices, like, simultaneously. Because the kind of the reveal or like the whole thing is that the dolls aren't alive. She's just possessing the dolls.
Yeah.
To do her bidding or whatever. But
I also really liked the silence part. Like, I know movies do that now where it's not for the plot, it's just to get the jump scare.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's in the first kill, right, where you hear the kettle whistle like,
yeah,
and then
when
hear shit.
When is it Jamie the main character, Ashen? Yeah. When Jamie comes into the apartment and he suddenly hears all of the noises that she wasn't hearing when she was and so you get that cool build up of, oh shit, Mary Shaw is close because this character suddenly can't hear anything.
Very effective.
Yeah, and it does the classic horror jump scare trick, but ties it into her powers and into the plot. Yeah, I love that. And just like the sound design is really good in the movie, the way that they execute that.
I enjoyed that part a lot, and I liked that they did it, and they sometimes would choose certain things for you to hear. Like at one point, it's happening to Jamie, and then they amp up the sound on the water dripping in the faucet. It was like boom. And I was like, okay, cool. So we talk a lot about sound on the show, and I think that that's a huge part of horror movies.
It's the heartbeat of a film in general. Is just how well the sound and the score are.
Yeah, I think Mary Shaw as a character is pretty freaky looking.
Very like Insidious.
Yeah, and that was the thing that I wanted to get to, I guess, before we get into like what doesn't work about this movie is just.
I mean, for me, like this is you can definitely see this as a precursor.
Yeah,
like this is they were like, let me slapdash together a story, but you can definitely tell they took the rubric that they created here and they turned that into Insidious and turned that into The Conjuring, based on like how they took kind of like a folklore character and then expand on that to create a story inside of a film.
So did you like the Shaw character?
I think that the character works in some ways. I think that like they're like the way that they put together the scares don't necessarily always work. Okay. And the use of the dolls are, you have to be kind of like afraid of dolls for it to really get you.
It's a lot of just the doll's eyes move.
Yeah.
And it's like you see that in every other creepy doll.
Did anything work for you?
Like I said, I like the sets. I like the use of this like small town and kind of like how, like you were saying, like it's a crossroads of like all of like the horror tropes, but done in like, kind of a more modern flair.
Yeah. It's a very gothic horror setup,
like almost like modern Burton-esque.
Okay.
Yeah. I do think that the color. The blue in this is pretty shitty looking. I like when, and again, it's another thing that I think is perfected in something like Insidious, is like there's a blue tone to that movie, but it's not.
Too.
Yeah, but they're not so overdone, and I believe it's the same cinematographer from what I read. But there's some cool like camera movements in this movie, but the blue tone is really overwhelming, especially when you pair it with a lot of the makeup work on some of the characters.
Especially the dad the first time we meet him.
Well, that I'm like, okay, that's intentional because you're at the end you realize he's been, spoiler alert, dead the whole time. My dad's a puppet.
Yeah.
So that works, but with other characters like the old woman, when she's like going out, especially in broad daylight, when she goes out and is like shouting at, like talking to Ryan or whatever, and she's just got like the big Burton dark circles around her eyes, and she's crazy. And I guess the explanation there could be like she's sick and whatever, but like just like most of the characters outside of the main characters are just crazy pale with these big like raccoon eyes, and it's just all kind of ugly looking. But
the makeup itself is just not done well in general.
Yeah, but in terms of things that carried over from Saw, Billy the Puppet does show up at one point when they're in the theater and they're looking at the 100 puppets. He's sitting on the floor of the workshop. So I had never caught him before, so this time I was like looking like a hawk to try to find him. Also the big like twist ending thing where they do the like, let's flash back to all the scenes that you saw earlier and show how she was actually like controlling him. Yeah, it's very Saw. And then
some of the like slow-mo like lift up things, like they do that in so like when Tobin Bell first stands up in the Saw movie, it's like all slow-mo. They do that with it, like Mary Shaw like picks up one of the puppets and it's all, and even some of the score, like it's not the same score, but it still has that kind
Charlie
of like,
Clouser though. It's the same composer, so yeah.
I figured because I was like, this sounds almost like Saw, where it's like ba-da-bum, but it's like bum bum ba-da-bum. Like they just added an extra beat.
Just a slight tweak. And yeah, and then there's some of the herky-jerky editing in a couple spots that feels like Saw. In terms of things that this went on to inspire, like you said, Insidious, I think, is the biggest thing that you could pull from this. Is like the woman, the Black Bride character is very Mary Shaw and
so much
shit out of me.
Better done in Insidious too.
Yeah. Insidious and Insidious too.
I did.
Yeah. The kind of color palette, the kind of color palette that we would see get more perfected in future Wan stuff, and then in like Flanagan stuff, the like really blue green type of stuff. There's
and this is like oversaturated, where that it's a lot more subtle and kind of built into the scene, where it's not as distracting. Like this is, it looks like someone just had a blue light.
Yeah, and then there were
them blue gels, baby.
Yeah,
and there are a lot of scenes that also reminded me of Malignant, because there's a scene with the doll in the hotel room, and there's the red light coming through the window, and he does the same trick with the red light through the hotel window in Malignant. So
also like, very campy and a lot more comedy in this.
To me, like Dead Silence and Malignant are the closest of his movies in terms of like these two would make a great double feature if you're in the mood for like campy, cheesy, just kind of throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. But yeah, outside of that, I mean, there really are no likable characters in the movie. You don't really care about the Jamie character.
No development.
Yeah, no real development.
For, I was only mean to you because I wanted you to get as far from this place as you possibly could.
His dad?
Yeah, so dumb.
Yeah, but that's not even really his dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so in the defense of Lee Winnell, a lot of this movie is not actually written by him. He wrote his draft of the script, which apparently had a lot less exposition and a lot less of...
A little less talking, a lot more
like,
action.
a lot less like over-the-top Mary Shaw stuff. And when he turned it in, the studio was like, we hate this. So they hired like several script doctors to come in and completely mince his script, which is why there's so many long scenes of just people explaining what the fuck is going on and people just constantly repeating the Mary Shaw poem to each other so you remember what her bit is. Lots of just repetitive scenes of Donnie Wahlberg coming in and trying to like strong arm Jamie's character about like...
Yeah, he like fucking leaves and then Jamie's just walks into his hotel room. I was like, the cop didn't lock his door and keep the puppet away from the guy that he's trying to keep the puppet away from as evidence. I was like, that's you guys.
Yeah, and there's the whole suspension of disbelief in the first place that this guy would be taking this puppet around with him to the hotel room he's staying in after it obviously is... It's like, at what point, if you believe the ghost story, are you going to fucking burn that thing? Like, try to get rid of it immediately instead of carrying around this little guy with you on
little
this adventure.
Shitter.
Yeah, the Donnie Wahlberg thing doesn't really work. I think that you do see the like stereotypical cop thing show up in like Malignant. They're just a little bit, I think, more of characters in that. Like they have some more funny stuff to do, and his only bit is the shaving thing. And
he's only there to die, so that we get somebody that's been in the movie the whole time that dies because they don't want to kill Jamie until like the very, very end with our big reveal. And other than that, it's like, who are we going to kill? Like these morticians.
A lot of this, from the urban legend thing to the color palette of this to a lot of like the what felt like overdone like early 2000s horror stuff. A lot of it just felt like they were trying to ride on the success of The Ring. Like it really reminded me of like a shittier version of The Ring, where Gore Verbinski just did that like dreary blue-green color palette. Even the like jawless people reminds me a lot of the imagery
photos?
Of seeing like the fucked up people. Yeah, and especially the family photos reminds me a lot of like when you see what the people who were attacked by Samara look like.
I think there's a difference between having like you said, like in The Ring, where it's like this like really like sullen like it really like takes a lot of credit from the way that things are presented in Japanese film, you know, with like the rain and like that really like Seattle-y kind of vibes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between that and then just making something that just looks dingy, and this just looks dingy.
Yeah, it's like a kind of more polished Saw in a lot of ways, where it's like, yeah, we got some money from that maybe, but here's what we could do if we had a little bit more money. And I don't think it worked. I think there was not enough limitations.
Yeah, I think it just has a lot of really cool ideas. You can tell that there were just a lot of kind of disconnected cool ideas floating around in Lee Winnell's head, and then he tried to connect them into something that made sense on a very tight time frame, and then that got fucked by a bunch of script doctors. Apparently, the actual production was pretty rough on James Wan, and there was a ton of studio interference on his end trying to direct it. And then basically by the time the movie was done, the studio hated it and just kind of dumped it into theaters with very little marketing. And I remember seeing trailers for it and thought it looked creepy. But again, this was in the time where I wasn't really actively going out to check out horror movies. And it just looked like another run-of-the-mill creepy doll movie.
Yeah.
And it kind of, you know, it is. There's nothing like terribly special about it. There's just a couple cool ideas.
I do like the idea that if you don't scream, then you can survive longer. Like, I think that's cool. A lot of times, like, you know, you get into these franchises, like, how can you stop from being killed by Michael Myers? No way, really. Just run.
Yeah, and that always kind of frustrates me when it's like, oh, okay, the
nothing
evil...
I can do.
I mean, that's partially... I won't go too much into detail for people who haven't seen it. It's kind of a little bit of what bothered me about the movie Smile. But it's like, there's got to be... Unless you want to make a completely nihilistic picture, which some directors, like your Eli Roths, want to do, is just like, everybody's terrible and they all deserve to die. I like a movie where it's like, okay, there is a way you can outsmart the ghoul in some way. Like, yeah, and if for it to be something as simple as like just don't scream, which is horribly difficult to do when you're
watching
being thrown around by a scary
ripped
ghost.
off,
Yeah.
or getting licked by giant CG tongues.
Yeah, so I thought that was cool. I enjoyed that part of it.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, Winnell said that his biggest lesson that he learned is that after this, he stopped writing his scripts for a studio. He writes most of his stuff like spec now, and then if a studio wants to pick it up the way that it's already, if they like that script the way it is and they want to pick it up, then that's cool. But he's like, yeah, that kind of broke my trust in working with the studio system to make a movie, because they just fucked with it. And it seems to me, especially with the whole situation of like, okay, go quickly come up with an idea and quickly make this movie. It probably wouldn't have been great if it hadn't been fucked with, but it probably would have been at least maybe a little bit closer to something like Insidious than what we got. So it's I still enjoy it for mostly just like the evolution of James Wan's career. Like I think it is an important stepping stone between to see how we got from Saw to Insidious. And that like next stage, and then from Insidious to Conjuring, and then the career that he's in now. So, but not a great movie.
Yeah, I think we definitely have better things on the horizon in our James Wanuary for sure.
Yeah, I think for the exact same reasons that you just said, it's cool to see that progression, not only where it went from Saw to this, but then also how this pushed out further. So he's still using some of these techniques, because if you watch The Conjuring and some of his later movies, I don't feel like you can really see too much of the Saw in those, because they're a lot more fine-tuned and not as rough. I mean, he's had some time behind the camera.
Now, locked down, meticulous camera stuff.
Right, and so it is cool, like you said, to see that progression. That here's one, here's one, here's two, and then moving forward from that. So outside of that, though, yeah, this movie doesn't really do shit for me.
It just makes me happy that, while Saw is not an excellently made movie, it just is impressive on its limitations, and Dead Silence is a pretty bad movie that has some cool ideas. It's good to know that that he still was able to then continue on and make really, really well made movies that have the budget they needed to get good cameras and good setups and cool sets and do the whole thing. But yeah, and then eventually getting into shit like the Fast and Furious movies and Aquaman,
get that bread.
Pretty far cry from Saw and Dead Silence. That's
yeah,
for sure.
It's pretty fucking crazy, man. Good for him, though. I just want him to come out with another, The Conjuring. You know what I mean? Hit us with something fire.
Yeah.
Drop him all.
Yeah, hopefully that's it. All right, anything else you want to say about this one?
I mean, like I said, it could have been better. It could have been worse. But, I mean, knowing where his career goes from here, I mean, it's kind of similar to watching something like Absentia.
Yeah.
You can definitely see where all of this was leading.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I would. If you're a James Wan fan, you will probably get something out of watching this, or a James Wan, a fan of either of them. You'll get something out of just like I said, seeing the evolution of their careers. But if you're not a James Wan fan, stay away from this. And if you watch it either way, I would recommend watching the regular version. They're both available on iTunes, both the regular theatrical and the unrated. The unrated does not add anything. It actually takes away from the experience by adding all of the big CG tongues.
Yeah.
So I would watch the regular version. And if you're afraid of dolls, challenge yourself, you pussy, and watch Dead Silence.
All right, well, that's gonna wrap it up for this week's episode. Next, are we doing Megan next week, or do we want to give ourselves a little padding?
Let's give us some padding, because I don't think anyone's rushing out to the theater to see it. I think that you give us enough time to see it.
All right.
And I would prefer to jump into a nice warm blanket that is Insidious and Insidious 2.
Oh, we're doing both.
Yeah, we are, bro.
Okay.
Yeah, we
then
are.
there you go. Next week we're gonna watch and talk about Insidious and Insidious 2 to continue.
The Back to the Future and the Back to the Future 2 of the horror realm.
Is that true?
Watch the movies and find out.
Oh shit!
You'll watch them and you'll go, "Oh shit! That thing you said about Back to the Future, 100% accurate."
All right. Well, then we'll see you next week. Thanks to you for checking this episode out, and thanks to us for doing it 200 times, baby.
200 times, and you guys aren't tired yet? You ready for more?
And Happy New Year and Happy Friday the 13th just around the corner. We'll see you next time. I've been Tone.
I've been John.
And I've been Mary Shaw and the boy and Billy the puppet and
Billy the puppet
and Billy the puppet and internet darling Anthony.
Sign us off, please.
Keep it creepy.